What's up, YouTube? My name is Arthur Robinson Jr. I am the creator and host of PowerfulInterviews.com and I'm a partner of NationalDiversified.com. I want to welcome each and every one of you to this phenomenal video. In this interview, you're going to experience life-changing information that you will not find anywhere else. I have secured an incredible interview with a great friend of mine. She is a successful businesswoman. She is a stand-up comedian and a restaurant owner. Her name is Angela Means. Angela Means, if you remember her in her first film role, she was in the movie with Icecube, and it's a hit classic. The movie is called Friday. In this interview, Angela Means, she breaks down layman's terms about why she became a phenomenal mom to her son. Also in this interview, Angela Means, she breaks down layman's terms about how she first got her gig when she became a phenomenal comedian. Also in this interview, Angela Means, she breaks down layman's terms about when she first went on tour with the other phenomenal comedians, Chris Rock and Bernie Mac. And also in this interview, Angela Means, she breaks down layman's terms about why she became a vegan, and her vegan restaurant is called Jackfruit Cafe, and much, much more. So remember, this is not BS information. The right information will change your current situation. Wealthy people, they take advice from other wealthy people, and unfortunately, broke people, they take advice from broke people. So right about now, go get your pen and your pad, sit back and relax, and write down some notes. In this interview that I'm going to reveal to each and every one of you with my great friend, she is a successful businesswoman, an actress and a stand-up comedian, and a restaurant owner. Her name is Angela Means. This interview, it will change your life. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn your notifications on. That way you be well informed when I publish more successful audio interviews. So, check it out. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome the one, the only, the beautiful Angela Means to the show.
Oh my gosh. Arthur, I almost hung up. I was like, who is he talking about? Arthur, I just adore you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Angela, for taking time out of your busy schedule to educate me and the listeners worldwide about your phenomenal company, Jackfruit Cafe, and about the power of you being a vegan. I gladly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We got to spread the word, spread the love.
To everyone that's listening, I highly recommend go and get your pen and your pad right now. My great friend Angela Means is going to break down layman's terms about how she started her phenomenal career as being a stand-up comedian, and we're going to talk about her phenomenal brand, Jackfruit Cafe. Is that correct, Angela?
There we go.
Now, what I'd like to know, can you explain to the audience in layman's terms, who is the beautiful Angela Means? How long you been in your powerful industry, and what is your expertise?
Well, I've always described myself as a mom. It's the reason that I left the industry. I left early on. My motherhood was calling. I came to Los Angeles with a list, and that's always an important thing to do, is to create lists of things that you want to do, particularly as a young person. I came to California. I was 22, 23 years old, and I did everything on that list. And the last thing on the list was mom. And once I had my son, it was everything else paled. So I left. I was 5 months pregnant at the premiere of Friday.
Wow.
One of the last things on the list was to do an interesting character. And I knew once I read the Friday script and I got the offer for Felicia, I was like, that's on my list. Oh, my God, this stuff works. That's on my list. And when I read it and I read the story, it was structurally sound. It was so good structurally. So I knew it was it. I knew it when I saw it. So I went to the next thing on my list, which was Mom, basically in the middle of production. And I was 5 months pregnant at the premiere.
Wow.
So I'm a mom in business who happens to be behind a social icon named Felicia. I don't know how to describe it, to tell you the truth, but we start with Mom, and it's very interesting. I've been in so many different lanes that I never know when someone says, "I know you." I never know what they know me from. So I'm multifaceted in every regard, and it's quite hard to label me, and that's a good thing.
What was it like working with Icecube when you landed that role in that hit classic Friday?
There's a reason that Icecube is Icecube. He is phenomenal. He's driven. He's very the word isn't serious, but he's very focused. He's very focused and very engaged in the project, and was very, very lighthearted, very accessible. I only shot for a few days, so there was no reason for me to really be in the executive producer space and all of that. So I didn't engage with him that much. I mean, my role was pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Come in and be a hood rat, be different. And I feel like I did my job. I feel that they wrote the project so well that it gave me an opportunity to really do some work. I had studied the craft, so I was able to create a bio on Felicia and just really, really, really layer the character and everything that she was, and just say my lines. So Cube was happy at the end of the day. He's made probably, who knows how much he's made off of Friday. So it was an exceptional experience to be in his company and to work for him and to be hired by him.
Now, with that phenomenal outside-the-box role, Felicia, and Friday is basically a classic, and I still love that movie to this day. Do you generate a lot of royalties from your role by being in that phenomenal movie, Friday?
Well, we just got a check. I was you have to understand that film was made for $2 million, and it was basically a labor of love. And everyone did it for scale. Scale is minimum wage in the industry. So basically, we do get residuals. They're not what people would expect. Cube got all of the money. Yeah, Cube got all the money. We just got a really nice royalty check about 4 or 5 months ago, and it was 5 figures, and it was lovely. But that was after a couple years. You know, it wasn't. That one was. There was a buyout that happened. I'm not sure. I didn't see the check. My agent told me there was. I really didn't concern myself with the buyout. I just deposited the check. But there was something that happened, and we got a nice little check.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you relocated to the beautiful ATL, and you actually studied the craft at the Comedy Act Theater, and I know you was on tour with Chris Rock and Bernie Mac. What was that experience like with working with those two icons, Chris Rock and Bernie Mac?
There's, you don't know until you look back. I mean, they were my constituents. I'm not saying that I'm on the level of Bernie Mac or Chris Rock at all. But when you're in the comedy game, you're all comics. We're all comics. We're all looking for the next joke. We all help each other. We're just comics. Comics don't look at other comics like, oh, I'm the headliner, so you go stand over there. I mean, yes, that does happen. I shouldn't say, but with Bernie and Chris in particular, watching Chris, I got to watch Chris as a young comic, as just starting out, and Chris did some amazing things on stage in terms of the mechanics of the stage and the science of it, and how to commit, and I grew the most watching Chris Rock work, and Bernie Mac was like everyone's uncle. Bernie Mac was like a big teddy bear. I actually did a pilot with Bernie. I played his first pilot. I played his wife. It was Pearl's Place to Play. Faison Love played his brother, and it was amazing. It didn't get picked up though, obviously, but yeah, Bernie had like a big brother role in the community, and everyone when he passed. It's funny, he passed on the same day as my mom.
Wow. Yeah,
and Bernie was just he was what you saw. He was just a nice man who worked hard, and everyone loved him, and he was a master at it. He was a master craftsman. I'm getting sad thinking about him because he was just one of those people that just always had a smile, always had something great to say. On the shoot, he was just always so. I never once heard him say anything bad about anybody. He was just one of the people. Well, they got to do what He was just phenomenal. The female tours too were some of my high times. The Bad Girls of Def Jam, and then there were always promoters pairing me with other women. AJ Sanders and I did some great touring. AJ Sanders from a Different World. Her and I we kind of complimented each one another, and we were somewhat in the same lane. So her and I toured a lot. But it was just a phenomenal time working with the legends, and then you're just not thinking of them as, oh, I'm working with a legend. You're just, this is Chris, or this is Bernie. They're like, comics have this feeling like you're all cousins. It's really something. There's a familiarity. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And I'm in a distribution house right now. The biggest smile on my face just thinking about that. That is my biggest achievement in life. I've spent the most time as a hands-on mom, and I will say this to other women out there. Listen to, when you have your baby, listen to other middle-aged moms. When they just tell you offhanded comments and advice, listen to it, because I never forget, the kind of moms you come across, and other moms could see I was just a doting mom, and I never forget the advice. Now make sure you don't lose yourself. Make sure you don't lose yourself. Make sure you keep doing your stuff for yourself. And I didn't take that advice. So but everything has a way of working itself out. When Bradley decided to go to Miami, I was ecstatic, but it was the other side of the country. He was my baby. He was my whole world, and I went into a state of depression. I ended up gaining close to 100 pounds.
Wow.
And I literally, my food intake almost quadrupled from comfort eating. And I ended up sick. And I had a few very, very serious ailments. And being the mom that I am, oh God, I almost started crying. being the mother that I am, I thought about Bradley, and I just said, I can't do this to him. He's on the other side of the country. If something happened to me, he's not going to be able to focus and do what he has to do. And at the time, he was the starting quarterback at the University of Miami as a true freshman. So he's always started. He hit that field as he had just turned 18. He started leading 20-year-olds as a 17-year-old. So with that in mind, I said, you got to get it together. And I knew growing up on a farm what vegetables were about, and I just went cold turkey, no pun intended. I got rid of the meat, and the weight just melted off. And a lot of other wonderful things happened that I couldn't have guessed, but I knew I was in for a really great treat, getting rid of the meat. I had been vegan as a child. I was hiding the fact that I wasn't eating meat, but as soon as they found out I wasn't, Andy's not eating her meat, I got in trouble and was forced to eat it. But as an adult, once I let it go, my life changed. And the only regret I have is not doing it earlier, because I'm telling you, I have the energy of a 20-year-old. When I tell people my age, they don't believe me. I mean, I'm a public figure, so I mean, you can kind of gauge my age. But I first of all, I'm well. Second of all, I went from a size 22 to I'm now a size 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was never a 4, not even when I modeled. I modeled for some really incredible designers. I walked for Paulina Trugere, Jean-Paul Gaultier. I mean, I've walked for some of the best, and I was never a 4. And veganism took me here, and I feel comfortable in my skin. I feel like a kid. I feel like when I was 20. I have no aches. I used to have what we call a trick shoulder from I was a pitcher all through summer league and high school, and I couldn't lift my shoulder more than like 45 degrees upward, and I had to carry Bradley on my left hip all the time because of my right shoulder. And one day, about a month ago, a few months back, I was reaching for something with my right hand, and it blew me away. It just blew me away. I was like, oh my God. Wow. This veganism is for real. I have no body aches. I have no pains. What it is the meat is acidic, and it builds up mucus. It builds up inflammation, and then the inflammation builds up mucus, and then that mucus has to settle somewhere, so it settles in weak parts of your body. It settles all over, but it really builds up in the weakest parts. So if your throat or your shoulder or your whatever, it'll build up in your joints, and it'll be called arthritis. And it builds up in your face, and that's called what? Sinusitis. They've got these cute little names for the crap that their meat builds up in our body. So I get rid of the meat, I get rid of the inflammation, I get rid of the mucus, I get rid of the pain, I get rid of the disease. So I know this. Now that I know this, how can I not share it with our people? And not just our people, with the world. I know this. So this is why Felicia happened. And I kept questioning, not questioning, but while Bradley was being reared, I often said to myself, I just said to the universe, I know you got me after this is done. I know you got me. I mean, I'm very frugal. I hadn't spent any money on my tour money. I'm very frugal, so I had the money, and me and his father co-parented, but I still needed to, there was still life after momhood, and I found out that Felicia was trending in the same conversation. So when I found out in the exact same conversation that Felicia was trending, that my son got his offer to the University of Miami. And yeah, my friend called to congratulate me. And when he hung up, he said, "Bye, Felicia." And I was like, "Oh, you are so ancient." And he was like, "Ancient? What you mean ancient?" And I was like, "Dude, that movie was 20 years ago." He was like, Aaron, do you have Twitter? And I was like, "No." He was like, who you calling ancient? He was like, go on Twitter and put in, I didn't even know what hashtag meant. He was like, the pound sign. Put in the pound sign and "Bye, Felicia." When I did that, my jaw dropped. My jaw dropped. I just couldn't believe it. It was like literally 1,000 a minute.
Wow.
It was 1,000 a minute of "Bye, Felicias" at that time. So I was just like, wow, I see you guys. Because it scared me, because I was like, I kept saying that. I was like, I know that this is what that statement was about, that I kept saying. I kept saying it over and over. I know you got me. So, but at first it kind of scared me. At first, it was like, oh God, wait, are they getting ready to? What's happening? And then as people started saying it and recognizing me, and everyone was just so dear and so endearing to me and related to Felicia, and just the film itself, being a cult classic.
You are experiencing a life-changing, powerful interview, and you are hearing it first from Arthur Robinson Jr.'s PowerfulInterviews.com.
Now, when you was actually carrying your son, how long was you in labor?
40. Well, I tell you, his labor. I had him on Labor Day.
Wow.
I took Labor Day very serious.
Wow. September baby.
He's a September baby. He's a Virgo, so he's when the harvest comes in. Well, that's why you are a prolific businessman. That's why you are a patient. That's why you are a natural teacher. And that's why you're grounded, down to earth. And that's why you understand relationships. Because the Virgo, you can't do anything without them. They organize the harvest. You go out, you do the work, you do everything, but when it's time for the harvest to come in, go get a Virgo. Don't mess around.
Yes, he was born on Labor Day, and I was born September the 12th.
You're a 3, just like him. He was born September 3rd.
Oh.
He was born September 3rd of 95.
Wow.
But his Labor Day was the day before or the day after. But he's September 3rd. He was born at exactly 12:30. 1, 2, 3, right in a row. And it was weird. Like the doctor looked at everyone. When the doctor said time, we all looked at the clock on the wall, and it struck 12:30 exactly. The second hand struck the 12 when he said time. The hour hand was on the 12, and the minute hand was exactly on the 6. So
now, was your labor, was it smooth or was it hard?
Well, it was labor. I had a baby. And it was a real mother for you. And whoever said once the baby comes out, it doesn't hurt anymore, lied. They lied. And I try to stay as calm as possible, so Bradley's introduction to the world isn't his mom screaming like a beast in the wild. So I managed, but the labor was probably about 6 hours, and then I pushed for 45 minutes. and there was a lot of babies being born on that day because, listen, when we pulled into the parking lot, the security guard who went and got my wheelchair, he was like, hot damn, maternity ward jumping tonight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, how do you feel about young queens when they bring their beautiful daughters or beautiful sons into this world? Some people basically are saying, well, I don't want to have my baby in the hospital. They feel as though they don't want to be drugged up. They'd rather have their baby at home and get a midwife. What would you say to that in regards to having a midwife bring your son or daughter into this beautiful world?
Well, if they knew what they were doing and they came highly recommended, I think that's a wonderful thing because when I had Bradley, I was determined, and I kept saying, hand me my baby, hand me my baby. I tried to do it without an epidural, and then I realized, I don't like pain. I can't, I've got a low threshold for it, so I went ahead and did the epidural. But if it's, we all wear different size shoes for a reason. We all just wear different size shoes. And I'm not going to say that your shoe, if your shoe fits you, I can't say anything about your shoe. If it fits you. That's you're walking in your shoes. And that's how life is. We all have different size shoes. So if your baby can, I'm not a medical person that runs to the doctor. I feel like the medical community has somewhat let us down in terms of over medicating us.
That's right.
We lost some great artists because of being over medicated and not understanding what you put in your body and diet and meditation. And then self-belief, believe in yourself and having goals works hand in hand with your health. If you're just sitting around, if you're sediment and you're eating a bunch of preservatives, a bunch of meat, a bunch of, stuff shipped over from other countries, we find out that rice from other countries is actually plastic. We find out all of this stuff is in our food supply.
That's right.
Then we're going to be sick and we're not going to be productive and we're going to make bad choices and I'm not saying it pointing the finger. I'm saying it from actual experience. If you don't eat right, you're not going to live your best life, and you're gonna cut yourself short. And people dying at 30 and 40, it's from diet. And I'll go even further with mothers who are pregnant. What are you eating?
That's true. That is absolutely true. See, people love to eat, but you have to eat to live. And I always say prescription drugs and non-prescription drugs, they're the major causes of diseases.
Well, they work hand in hand with the food supply that's being offered. It's a dual sort of threat thing. So once you consume the meat, the food, then we've got your drugs for you. And then now we've got, one of the fastest growing businesses in America right now is kidney dialysis.
Yeah, that's right.
And
I call it the end machine.
There you go.
That's what it is.
That's the end of the line right there. And we've got people that we're working with whose numbers are turning around. The doctors keep telling them, no, you got to have protein. Well, that's what's all clogged up in your kidney right now is protein from consuming too much protein. And they push them because they get paid. It's a business. And
that's
if you're
right.
not sick, how you can love your doctor. Hey, I love my doctor. He keeps me. No, you're keeping your doctor in his house paying his mortgage.
You're absolutely right. And for those who don't know what the end machine stands for, which Angela is talking about, the end machine is the nigger machine.
Oh, my God.
And a lot of people are dying from dialysis. That machine don't help you. It's actually destroying you slowly.
You just gave me chills. That's exactly what's happening. And all this medication that you're on, too, the medication for the high blood pressure. All you got to do, a little apple cider vinegar, move your body around, get up. You're sitting at your desk. No, sir. Just get up. Get up, move, stretch in the morning. Just stretch. Just give yourself a chance. You know, we get into this, oh, don't nobody love me, and my job, and this, that, and the other. Well, all of that is happening because of you. And how you are looking at your life and treating your life. So if you say to the universe, hey, I know you got me when this is done. I know it. And then all of a sudden, you become an iconic meme. Then you go on and you do other stuff that you claim. You claim it. And I claimed wellness. I claimed that. I said, uh-oh, something's wrong. I got to claim wellness, and I've got to work to be well. And what drove me? I had a purpose, sense of purpose. So the sense of purpose to be well was my son. I'd given him so much time. He's more educated than anybody in the country. He has an incredible education. He's read a library of books. He's traveled the globe as a kid, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So my sense of purpose was not to miss out on what I had helped create.
Wow.
So we find our sense of purpose, we find our drive. So now my sense of purpose is I've done something great with myself that
go vegan. They love eating chicken. They love eating, turkey sausage, and they just love eating turkey. And I think it just comes from habits that has been ingrained in us since we were young. If your mother and father grew up on eating meat, then that's what you're going to grow up on, eating meat. And then later on in life, once you get educated about foods and about fruits and vegetables and about organic, and I know me and my wife, we shop at the Whole Foods. And I try to eat healthy as much as possible. What do you say to people where they have a hard time of just letting meat go?
Well, I say to people, you inherited your family's DNA,
mm-hmm.
and if you inherit their diet, you're going to inherit their diseases. And the exact disease. So if if cancer runs in your mom's family, you better believe that if you're eating meat, and the World Health Organization, never mind about America and their system. The World Health Report has already stated meat causes cancer, and they're also researching the fact that meat causes all disease. It clogs you up. So what I say to people who say they can't give up meat is, eat the meat with no seasoning and see if you still want it. Because the fact is, the only reason that you're eating it is because of the seasoning. So if I can season something else exactly like your meat, and I can mimic that texture, and it's just as flavorful, just as crunchy, just as moist, just if it shreds, just like your meat, and you had an opportunity to reduce your chances of cancer by over 70%, if you had an opportunity to help the environment, and if you had an opportunity to stop the torture and abuse of farm animals, they are beings. Why wouldn't you do it? So here's why. People are not going to be reasoned out of what they weren't reasoned into. You can't do it. You know that out there. You cannot reason someone out of what they weren't reasoned into.
That's true.
What you have to do is show them, and you have to lead by example. And if you're prepared to lead by example, you have to be prepared for the sacrifices that come along with that as well. You're going to lose friends. You're going to lose money. You're going to lose time. Well, your time is going to be spent well if you believe in your cause. But I tell people who say that they can't give up meat, I say, well, hey, congratulations, you're a lion. Or you might be a bear or a tiger. Well, other than that, there's no reason for you to eat it other than you lack discipline, and you might be a little bit selfish, because what you've done is you've told your kids, I'm not going to do everything I can do to stick around. You're the one that's going to have to bear the weight of my loss.
Yes, and as I come across that all the time, people, they just love being carnivores. They love eating meat, and they eat their vegetables, but they just tell me, they say, Arthur, I just have to have, a chicken cheesesteak, or they have to have a chicken beef steak, or they just have to have something with meat. And I know that comes from their conditioning, but I always say it's never too late. You just got to reprogram your mind, because there's a lot of healthy foods that you can actually consume where you'll have a healthy mind and a healthy heart.
You said a mouthful.
Angela, can you explain to the audience in your own influential way, what is the best advice that you have ever received?
Wow. It was from Dr. Sebi. Yep. Dr. Sebi was my dude, and his loss has left a huge hole, but it also opened up a even bigger hole. He was lightning in a bottle. He had been doing it for 50 years. He had been in this lane, and now, well, not quite 50, but and when he blew up, that's when they took him away from us.
You're right.
And he has all the information in terms of not eating starch and meat and what happens with the body, and keep the body clean with just pipes and tubes. You keep it clean, you're going to go to 125. But he gave me the best advice, and that was to listen.
Wow.
Simple.
Now, you are a beautiful queen. And
thank you, Arthur. Thank you.
When I look back on your impressive resume, and I know you was a phenomenal stand-up comedian, and I'm just thinking about when you was on the Def Jam platform, and somebody said something in the audience, and you said, don't let this light skin fool your ass, because I'm the wrong nigga to fuck with. And you had the whole crowd lit. Do you think, as stand-up comedians, do comedians have to be witty and on their feet if someone in the audience actually, disses them? Like, because you was real witty when you came back. Do you think comedians have to be that way?
Well, if you're in a Def Jam audience, you're in a black audience. There's no white audience who's booing people off the stage.
Right.
We were trained, in the Chitlin circuit, and at the time, black people didn't have, weren't as quite as informed as white audiences. White audiences had the improv for years. We never had anything. We had Richard Pryor, we had Eddie Murphy, we had some greats, but we didn't have the everyday comic. And Def Jam, it was an explosion. And you had to be funny, and you had to not be scared. That's where Bernie Mac came up with that. I ain't scared of you motherfuckers. It happened. I was sitting right there and I watched it. That's a legendary moment in black history, not just entertainment, but black history, period. Everybody can remember when they saw Bernie Mac say, I ain't scared of you motherfuckers. So, and that's how you had to come, because people came out to see if they could mess with you. Oh, let's go mess with the pretty girl. Oh, no, hell no, you ain't messing with the pretty girl. I'm from the east side of Detroit. You ain't messing with me. My favorite, what I used to do when I used to tell people, my first little bag was oh man, you messing with my timing. Every job has a timing. Because, like when you're on your job, it's a certain time you have to put the pickles on the burger. So it's pickles, ketchup, mustard. Oh, shoot, I messed up again. You know what I'm saying? And you have to have an arsenal of comebacks or else you once you lose the crowd, you might as well just, say, all right, good night, you guys. I'm Sally Jane from wherever.
Do you think the Def Jam crowd is basically the same crowd as the Apollo crowd, where they hard, but once you win them over, then you got them?
Yeah, absolutely. They're all the same crowd. Comic View, Def Jam, the Apollo. It's all the same crowd, but it's the actual entity that creates the audience's behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Because Def Jam, only one person in Def Jam history was booed, and Def Jam didn't condone that. They did not condone that. That's what you did. You did not do as a Def Jam audience. So the production company kind of determines what they're going to allow in that lane, because that's a big thing to boo somebody off of a stage, particularly a paid comic. Like the Apollo, they have to pay you to come on, and boo this person 30 seconds into their act. We still have to pay them. So that became part of when Showtime at the Apollo came back. They tried to have it come back as something different, but the Apollo had such a strong strong format that it was never going to change. If you don't come with it on the Apollo, no matter what, I don't give a darn if it's a taping show. If you don't come with it as a comedian, you're going to get booed, and that's just the Apollo. That's just the Apollo. That's the Apollo way, and it'll always be that way. But they're all the same. BET Comic View was because it was filmed out here. It was more of a scene and B scene kind of place, and it was for comics who weren't necessarily on the road. You didn't know their names. You had never seen them before. A lot of them just had the 5 minutes of material, and then they couldn't tour. So Comic View was like the working man, just come, turn it on at the end of the day for a couple of chuckles and move on about your business. But it's the same person who was booing at the Apollo, and it's the same person who was laughing their butt off at the street comics on Def Jam.
You are experiencing a life-changing, powerful interview, and you are hearing it first from Arthur Robinson Jr.'s PowerfulInterviews.com.
Were the comedians getting paid to be on the Def Comedy Jam platform? And what was it like working with Russell Simmons?
Russell was a genius. It was interesting. I always think of Russell to this day in his turn, how laid back he was, and he was always himself. He never tried to be in a box that did not fit who he was, and he was always so comfortable in his skin and just so laid back and just always reeked of wealth. He had a wealthy man's disposition in a laid back sort of way. There's nothing uptight about him. He's funny, he's creative, and he's always focused, always focused, and always knows what's going on. He knows your name. He knows his history with you. He's a genius, and is not afraid to tell you what he did wrong in the past and how he got to where he was. The Def Jam platform was phenomenal in the sense that it was a real union production. Like it was run by the union, so it was first class. I know I flew business. I shouldn't tell people that, but I flew out business class, and I was put in a 5-star hotel, and it was it was HBO. So it was a real production. I'm not going to say that BET wasn't a real production, but it didn't have the savoir-faire and the panache of BET executive can't compete with Russell Simmons and the HBO executive. It just, not in that day, it wasn't happening.
Now, I interviewed the great comedian Michael Collier, and I know that he actually was in that film in House Party 3. What was that like, being in that phenomenal classic House Party 3?
Well, that was my first job, and I was scared. I was
Wow.
really scared. I was going to be exposed for, taking a job from someone who really should be in the role. And that's how I felt. When I got booked, I celebrated. I jumped up and down. I did a windmill on the floor, and I literally laid on my side and ran around in circles on the floor. And then I was like, oh my God, well, what am I doing? And but luckily for me, I had a director that really cared about thespians. He's an actor's director, and when we got to the dinner scene, he said, "This must be the funniest scene in Black comedy history." And I honestly think that he may have attained that, because if you see that dinner scene, even after all these years, you're holding your stomach. Bernie Mac and Ronaldo Ray and Simply Marvelous, and God bless all of their souls, because they're all gone.
Wow.
Yeah, and Miss Kitty is gone. Aunt Lucy, who played in that scene as well. The only people left in that scene are me and Kid. Me and Kid and Play.
Yes, I know. House Party was a hit classic. I remember even going to the movies, and the theaters, Angela, was just packed. And it wasn't nothing like when Kid and Play came out with that movie with House Party, and then the franchise just grew from there. Do you think that, from your perspective as being a stand-up comedian, do you think that the Def Jam platform can actually come back and it can be real effective how it was when it first started? Do you think that platform should come back in this time and era?
I think it definitely should come back, but here's the issue with it coming back. Now when it first started, it was literally lightning in a bottle. We hadn't seen this in 20-odd years. Richard Pryor and Red Fox, Dolomite. That's what we had. We didn't have any other comics. Now you've got comic after comic after comic coming with it, hitting it hard.
Mm-hmm.
It was an explosion. It was lightning. So is lightning going to come back to the same place and hit again? The likelihood is that it won't, because now we're educated. That was a special moment in history. That's like, I don't see it. It would have to happen, but it would have to happen, I'd give it another 10, 15 years, but here's the problem too. The millennials only want snippets. You've got Vine, you've got YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
The millennials are not, TVs are going to be something of the past. So if you're investing in television, invest in monitors. The millennials are not buying TVs. They're buying monitors that they plug their devices into.
That's right.
Yeah.
The internet done changed the game.
Completely. And some of the most famous people are people sitting in their bedrooms doing rant videos or doing 30-second funny videos. Look at Just Hilarious. Just Hilarious is one of the most popular, funniest, incredible female comedians on the horizon right now. She co-stars on Lil Real's new sitcom, but she didn't come up the same way. She didn't come up on stage. She came up in her house doing little Instagram videos, 30-second videos of just ranting and being funny. She didn't need Def Jam. She didn't need to get dressed and drive to a club and beg for time and have notes. And, that's done. When you see people like Just Hilarious make it, and there's a ton of them. There's a ton of comedians who are Tony Baker comedy. This kid has 1 million followers. I doubt if he's ever been on a stage. I don't know Tony's background, so if he has, please forgive me. I'm just a business owner and a mom, and I'm in my lane. But tons and tons of comics have now just made it from their living rooms and their their laptops. So I don't think if it does come back that look, the 25th anniversary Def Jam came on. Did you see it?
Yes.
And there's a lot of people who didn't. There's a lot of people who didn't even know it was on. There's a lot of people who was like, what was that? You know? I think it's done. I think that this generation could care less about it. I just do. I don't see this generation or next generation going, them blowing up a spot, blowing up stand-up comedy like it was in the early mid-'90s.
Right. I think the millennials, their patience is pretty much thin, and it's a lot of comedians that are actually blowing up on Instagram, and Facebook own Instagram, so that's what people are doing today. They're just like, look, you know what? I probably don't have the experience, but I'm just going to go for it anyway and just put out some funny skits and just keep moving forward with publishing content. And that's how people are actually getting discovered.
There you go.
How do you feel about, now I know the Netflix platform, they basically are dominating and they constantly need content. And they basically put, Blockbusters out of business, because I remember when DVDs was at an all-time high at one point.
Yeah.
And, Monique, she actually wanted to boycott Netflix because, Netflix offered her $500,000, and she felt as though that she should get, a $20 million deal like, the Dave Chappelle's, the Amy Schumer's, and the Chris Rock's. How do you feel about that in regards to, would you have took that offer, or do you think that Monique should have just been grassroots and, maybe, sold out a couple of venues and maybe they would have came back to the table with a better offer?
Well, we're in a what have you done for me lately industry.
Right.
Unless you are, a legend. Monique has been described as a legend. I would say that she's legendary, absolutely. Would I compare her to Chris Rock or Dave Chappelle? Would I mention her in the same sentence as them? I wouldn't. Dave Chappelle's audience is broader. He reaches more ears than Monique. Monique's point of view is not as vast as Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle. I don't know what Amy Schumacher does, but I know that she's white. And so we're in America, so I get that. But I also get that we're in, we're in constant protest, and protest is what makes change. So I'm all with Monique. If Monique, you create your. I once worked for a small businessman, and in Netflix defense. Now, if you've had debate class, you have to be able to debate the issue from all sides.
Right.
I worked for a genius small businessman when I was younger, prior to show business, and he was the first. He owned the first Lincoln Mercury dealership in the. He was the first black man to own a Lincoln Mercury dealership in the state of Georgia. And he did that for years, and then he just created his own rent-to-own program and made $1 million off of the hood. But anyway, he told me in business, I tell you, and I've watched him tell a man, I tell you what your value is to me. You don't tell me what your value is to me. I tell you how much I will pay for that, and either you're going to accept it or you're not. But you don't come in here telling me that it's going to cost me $500 in labor, because I don't look at you, me, the person with the checkbook, I don't look at your value as $500. I look at you, your value, as $200. And that man took that $200 and did the headlining in the cars, and he took it for $200 a car.
Wow.
Now, yes, and that is the exact same thing that Netflix did. Netflix said, you don't tell me what your value is. I tell you, this isn't the studio system anymore. This is internet. This is digital. This isn't Warner Brothers. This isn't the quote system. You don't tell me a quote. I tell you what I'm going to pay you. You either take it or you leave it. And that is where the internet is, and that's where Netflix is. They say what your value is to them, because apparently they believe that nobody's going to I shouldn't say nobody, but only Monique's audience is going to watch that. And if Monique might be selling out, theaters, and is she selling out stadiums? Because I know Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle will sell out a stadium.
Right. Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, and Amy Schumer, they offered her $13 million. Now, I know she hasn't been doing it as long as Monique, but Monique was basically basing it on her resume. But I know, we about to approach 2019, and these companies, they don't really care about your impressive resume. They looking at what have you done for this industry lately?
Exactly. I mean, she's got an Oscar, but the internet is a new frontier. It is being regulated by the union. I'm not in it, so I don't read all the updates. I'm not that interested in it, and my brain is not that vast where I can, my whole life is veganism and how I can help and serve my son, and that's the lane. And I have other interests that I do, but entertainment, it's particularly stand-up, it led me to my life's work. And my life's work now is kind of a medicine woman.
Wow. Yeah, you look like you could be a vegan doctor.
Well, we've helped a lot of people lose weight. We've helped people get off of their meds. Mm-hmm. I can't make claims. I can't do that. It's against the law. The medical community outlawed used to be, and a lot of people my age and above will remember them talking about the man with the elixir. And he used to go door to door and he would sell his elixir. Which basically what I'm doing. I have an elixir. It's a tea. It's just a black tea, and it's burdock, marshmallow, comfy root, chaparral. Same thing that Dr. Sebi had. Just herbs. And I promise you, if you have the flu, I can get rid of it in a day. I promise you that. If whatever you have, I can get rid of it. It's a bottom line. So what the medical community did around the turn of the century, by like the 30s, they outlawed him. And a lot of people in the South depended on him, and that's how they stayed healthy. Well, they outlawed him, and they vilified him, and they started calling him snake oil salesman.
You know what? You're right. And I know that he's done a lot of great work with Left Eye from TLC.
Well, I'm speaking in general, not just Dr. Sebi. I'm speaking in general because there was a ton of Dr. Sebis. I mean, we came over here from the continent knowing what herbs and roots did for us. We are botanical, Arthur. You can't heal botanical with chemical.
You're right.
Botanical. Our blood mimics exactly. It's the exact same makeup as the chlorella, which is plant blood. It's the exact same compound.
Wow.
We're plants that walk around. The tree is giving you its fruit. Our hands are like a picker.